Hello. Welcome back to Hunter Tuned cell phone video update number 2 on the Mustang. I'm fucking beat. Been going at it all day. And we got the Mustang back up and running, finally. I shouldn't say finally, it's only been a day, but we had to pull the tranny off earlier today. And we pulled, everything to pull the transmission off. Pulled the transmission off, put a new flex plate in the car because the car had a warped flex plate. So we took the old flex plate off and put, I just put it on level ground, and you could definitely tell it was like bowed out. So I would assume that bowed out flex plate would cause the starter to have issues. And we put a new flex plate on it that was good. It's straight one, no issues there. And then threw the car all back together. And A21 Bravo, Ryan, we went up and hung out with him earlier today. And he actually has the same exact injectors in his Ranger, the Snake Eater 2200s. And that's the same injectors that I'm running in the Mustang. He actually reached out and let me borrow his injectors for the time being until I get a replacement from Snake Eater. So the issue I had with the injector is, I don't know if it was like an internal solenoid issue with the injector, or maybe it's, just from runtime. The E85 could have clogged it up or something like that. But I did everything I could with the flow bench and, cleaning it and everything like that. And I could not get the injector to come back to life. The whole reason that the flex plate thing kind of came about is because the motor had hydrolocked with fuel, and the injector was kind of stuck open and, caused the motor to drown pretty much. So what that did is it kind of locked up the motor. The starter had to work really hard to try to crank it over. And I think with the starter power, just kind of tweaked the flex plate a little bit. At least that's my theory. I could be wrong, but I did want to reach out to you guys and see if you had any recommendations, because I threw the new flex plate in, new injectors, car runs mint, took it down the road, did a couple rips, and car's good to go racing, motor-wise. Injector-wise, everything is good to go again. Yeah. So, I'm fucking tired. Sorry. I put the old starter back in that I originally had that was having the issues, and it just kept winging. Like you'd hit the starter button and it would just wing, like there was no teeth for it to grab, or the Bendix in the starter wasn't actually coming out to hit the flywheel. So I threw a different starter on it, and that starter had the same issue. But both starters were used while I had the bad flywheel in there. So I'm thinking maybe both of the starters got wore out, or it broke something in the Bendix, so it doesn't want to come out all the way to grab the flywheel. So the starter that I had in there, both starters I have are fucking junk, I think. I'm really hoping, because when the motor is running, the flywheel is straight and true. No issues there, but it always had noise. After I got all this back together, I put both starters back in, and both starters had a lot of noise. Like you would hit the starter button, and it would just grind and clunk and rattle, and then it would start the car, and then, yeah. So after like 5 or 6, 7 startups on the car, the starter started doing the same thing, where it would just wing, and it wouldn't actually engage the flywheel or turn the motor over at all. And I'm just wondering if you guys have had issues with the starters on LS motors. I mean, I'm probably overthinking this, but I'll probably go get another starter tomorrow. But I just want to make sure that the starter just make sure that the starter is the issue, and it's not like a shimming problem, because I don't think you have to shim LS starters, at least from my knowledge. I don't know. And like I said, I had the old starter in there forever. Like for the fucking past 3 years, I've had that starter in there, and I never had any issues until we hydro-locked the motor, and then, obviously stuff started going wrong. So, new flywheel, straight and true. Starter is having issues still. I'm hoping I'm just overthinking this, but it sounds really bad when you try to crank it over. So I'm trying to make sure I can get that dialed in because, man, we went through a lot of bullshit today and a lot of work and a lot of sweat and tears and fucking blood and blisters to get this thing back up and running, and it's running good. Like, it's running really good. I'm going to do an oil change and swap the starter in the morning and then hopefully go racing. I really hope we can. I'm really hoping that the starter is just the problem and I'm overthinking the shit out of this. But figured I'd ask you guys if you had any issues with LS starters or if you needed to shim them at all to make them work. I also don't have the proper starter bolts. They're just like hardware store bolts. They're not like they don't fit the starter snugly. So it could be kicked off a little bit one way or another, but it's not much where I wouldn't think that would be a problem, but I don't know. Anyways, just figured I'd throw this out there quick and let you guys know that we got the car back up and running and it's running really good. Injectors are fixed, or Ryan is letting me borrow them. Snake Eater Performance is awesome. You guys got to check those guys out for injectors because he pretty much just told me, like, dude, just send them back. We'll replace them or fix them and you'll be all good to go. So I was actually debating on throwing a set of like flex fuel injectors into my Mustang and just pushing the shit out of them to see how far we can go with those. But I really think that it's not going to be enough for how fast we're going with the car. I would assume that my Mustang's making around 800 wheel and the flex fuel injectors on kill would probably make that, but I don't know. So maybe we'll do that for next week. I'll throw some flex fuels in it just for shits and giggles and see how far we can take it. But anyways, Mustang's running good. Worried about the starter though, because yeah, I'm overthinking it and I don't want to pull the tranny back off because we just did it and I hate doing it without a hoist, but you got to do what you got to do. This is racing. You can't let the shit get to you, and you got to just roll with the punches and keep moving forward. And you know, this kind of stuff separates the men from the boys. Let me just tell you, you got to get out there and you got to have a passion and a drive for this fucking lifestyle and racing in general, especially here in Wisconsin when we have limited time to race our cars and go have fun with them. So anyways, I'm gonna quit bitching and babbling. Thanks for watching the video. Have a great night and better tomorrow.